Have you ever looked at the definition of science, but then found different sayings about it? That it's not really one thing. And pops up a question. Should cosmology be considered the same as microbiology? Should medicine be the same as the social sciences? So what is the actual definition of science? Now, the British Science Council in 2009 has come up with a definition. It worked on it for a whole year, and it's one of the very few attempts of defining science fully. Now, science is quite a grand big enterprise, and it's really hard to define, of course. But the British Council actually tried to attempt to do it. Now, what was its definition? It is the pursuit and application of knowledge in understanding the natural world and the social world. Now, this definition is not really that good. Now, The Guardian had an article with some experts giving their opinion on that definition and to see whether it works or not. But first, look at this. If you try to find other definitions of science, you're going to find the situation is quite different. Now, I'm going to mention 4 different points, which makes this definition problematic and what's the actual problem with defining science. Hopefully, I'm not going to leave you without a solution. I do have one, and I'm going to tell you about it later. Now, there is a preferred definition in science, and I think it's true. Look at this. For example, if you look at Google and Merriam-Webster and the Cambridge Dictionary and Wikipedia, they all leave out one single term: the social sciences. Well, it does talk about the natural world, but it does not talk about the social world. So what's the problem? Now, if we go to The Guardian's article, David Edgerton gives an opinion on this and says, well, there's a bad aspect to this definition and a good one. Well, the good aspect is that it does mention the social sciences. But the bad aspect is that it's only claiming the definition of a method. I mean, if you have something that you want to find out, you should have a criteria about that body of knowledge eventually that you're going to claim that as science versus other things. See, that's the second problem. The social one is the first problem. But let's talk about this one first. At the end of the day, what are you going to call science? Is it journalism? Is it history? And what degrees of science that we might have, if there are degrees? I mean, should we consider soft sciences? I mean, things that have to do with hard sciences, but they take it into history as well, like evolution, like cosmology. Should we consider that science? And how is it different from medicine and microbiology? So you need to be very precise with your definition there. The third problem with this, what happens if you look up the definition of a research methodology? You look them up in different places and you find that it's actually like a systematic study of finding out truth about the world. You're going to find a definition that's very similar to the Science Council definition. So research is the same as science? Is that true? I mean, what's the demarcation here? I mean, what's the difference then? Now let's go to the first point first before we go deeper into this. I mentioned 2 and 3. Now let's go to the number 1, and then I'm going to continue. So the first thing is about the social world and the attempt to include it into the sciences, akin to the natural sciences. Now that's problematic. Now A.C. Grayling, an atheist and a popularizer of atheism, pop atheism, does seem to agree with that, does seem to push that, yeah, it's a good thing that we have it delve into social sciences, because everything is natural. I mean, kind of like Professor David Edgerton, there's a naturalistic aspect to it. I mean, everything is just how we see it right now. Everything that ever was, everything that ever will be, is always just like how we see it right now in the understanding of a natural world that we know right now. Now that's a doctrine of philosophical naturalism, and that's problematic. It's not even scientific. But we're going to talk about that in other videos in more details. For now, that's just wrong. Now, point 4. Science is more about propositions, facts, and statements. And how you study these facts and statements is how you actually study science. There's no such thing as science with a capital S. The way we study cosmology in the near cosmology is different from the inferential basis of cosmology. That's why aspects of cosmology are not the same. How we study medicine is different from how we study microbiology. How we study lab medicine is different from how we study inferential medicine. These are different aspects. Now to leave you with the last point, I guess it's a solution. I think the most acceptable definition of science is actually by a atheist Darwinist, Michael Ruse. It's about the systematic study of the regularities of the natural world. Now this removes many of the ambiguities of the previous definitions of science. Maybe there are natural aspects to how we function in the social world that would be accounted for. Regularities in the natural world is what we study. It makes it less ambiguous and less vague. We're going to talk more about the intricacies in signs, so hit the like and take care.